Okay, so good morning. The title of this conference is Systemic and Structural Factors in Building the Therapeutic Alliance in a Work Rehabilitation Program with Injured Immigrant Workers. And the summary is about occupational injuries and rehab in Quebec. And I would like to start with a few words on the changing world of work, which is just a few introductory notes on the changing world of work. We'd like to say that the idea of change is deeply rooted in modern ideology. It is mostly associated with progress and improvement. But the changing world of work has a dark side, as you know, with a rapid technological and economic shifts causing job displacements and, in the name of competitiveness, increased insecurity, constant adaptation, innovation to be more productive, working under pressure, and working under pressure becoming the new normal, and so forth. Additionally, immigration and migratory flows contribute to this complex landscape. Immigrant workers' vulnerabilities in Quebec and as in other parts of the world, vulnerabilities in OHS are now better documented and acknowledged by OHS and public health authorities across Canada. So when injured and compensated, it's far from simple. This is a bumpy ride full of unforeseen events and disappointment that weigh heavily on people's mind. This is what my main topic is about this morning, immigrant workers and occupational rehabilitation process, with an emphasis on therapeutic alliance. And I will explain to you later what we mean by therapeutic alliance. So, in Quebec, there is about, let's say, nearly 110,000 compensated injuries every year. And most of them last for about 90 days, except for those who need rehabilitation. People with rehabilitation cares, the average duration of absence from work is about 630 days. This is a lot, and this is an average. It can be even worse. So, this is not to be read, and this is voluntary blurring images to show that we now have statistics on immigration and OHS. That was not possible a few years ago. But there are some facts about immigrant workers in Canada. And for example, the overqualification, the phenomena of education and job mismatch, which is a very big issue. Like 38% of immigrants in Quebec are overqualified compared to 28% in general. This is quite high. And the largest gap in some industries like public administration, business support services, including the agencies, and transport and warehouse. The distribution of injuries is higher also among immigrants, especially newcomers, and in some industries. I won't go into details, but we can discuss it later on. The frequency rate in injuries is also higher. And the frequency rate of long-term absence also higher for immigrants, especially recent immigrants, with 37% more likely to have a work-related accident than to the reference group. So let's go to the core of this project. What we know about previous studies about immigrant workers and OHS and rehab in Quebec. There is, stigmatization is a big issue, and the use of culture among health specialists, which is also problematic. And our colleague Stéphanie Premji has written a very interesting article on this, doing a literature review about the use of culture, the discourse on culture. And we also found interesting things in how the health services are trapped into a system that do not allow them to provide the care they would like to do in terms of, for example, cross-cultural issues, extending time, duration time for each session, therapeutical sessions, causing what we call the paradox of performance, and so forth, like being trapped between the paradox of performance and the clinical effectiveness. So yeah, basically. And if we go to the issue of therapeutic alliance, it was reported as a very important feature of the therapeutic process. And we were told as researchers, both by clinicians and by the Quebec Workers' Compensation Board, as a cornerstone of the whole thing. Every OHS specialist acknowledged this is important. So we decided to develop a project on this issue. Let's see, because this is a construct that that's been developed long time ago. It goes back to Sigmund Freud in psychoanalysis in the 1910 about, and it's been developed some tools, measurement tools developed in the late 70s. And basically, the therapeutic alliance is about bond and trust between a therapist and a patient. The goals, common agreement on goals, and the task to reach those goals. So there's plenty of literature about it, mostly in psychotherapy and also in physical therapy. And so the project I'm going to talk about is I won't get into many details because time is very short, and guys are very strict on this. You know, so so the method here is an ethnographic approach. We spent a few months in a clinic, spending like more than 300 hours of participant observations, plus the semi-structured interviews, focus groups, taking notes, and so forth, and a repeated measure of the working alliance inventory. That was not conclusive, so I'm not talking about it today. Maybe not conclusive. So 7 injured immigrants among the whole people in the clinic, and that we followed. We exercised ourselves with them in the gym and all these things, and voilà. And yeah, the main theoretical methodological challenge was to confine ourselves to a specific organization within a specific time frame. I'll show you in the next slide what I mean by this. The action, their role, and their influence, the influence of every actor, significant actors in the process, cannot be observed directly. When they talk about the practicing doctor, médecin traitant, yeah, GP and other specialists, the workplace, the CNOSST, the family. This is what the clinic talk about it. So this is quite limited, but yeah, for most of the people, well, health specialists, or this sounds like this. The time frame, what I said before, the time frame is about this. It's quite. It looks like a complex thing, but quite linear and logical. It's clear for everybody, isn't it? But for most people, it's more like this. Voilà. How to get out of the labyrinthine thing? Not easy. No, it's not easy. And it's not easy for the workers or themselves, of course, and for many specialists who are not quite familiar or sensibilized with the, let's say, the immigrant workers' life path or pathway through economic integration and working conditions. And so this is, for me, the simple way to represent the compensation process in Quebec. Not only in Quebec, I cannot talk about anything else, but yeah, voilà. So what we did, well, the key facts. It's very short presentation. So the key fact and figure of this research is about the workers' feeling of injustice, which is a very important emerging theme. Why is it not among other factors than systemic or structural factors? I'll explain it later on. Because here the injustice about something, and the something is about work environment, pre-existing mistrust in the system, and so forth. The second one is the technical and bureaucratic red tape undermines the confidence and trust in the system. The third one is about some aspect of pain representations and self-image. For example, capacitism, making it difficult to adhere to the model of learning to live with, and the permanent limitations. And the fourth one is about the work organization within the clinic, like managing understaffing and turnover, and managing external links with other health professionals and with CNE, SST, rehab professionals. And also they develop their own strategies, informal strategies to maintain the alliance, what we call the Relay Alliance. So yeah, this is just few verbatim citation from the interview. So here we have a worker who said, no, when I got injured, did he ever call and say, hey, in his name, how are you doing? Not even a single call. No, for me, he's an animal with no morals. That's what it is, no morals. Doesn't matter how much money you got. If you're a piece of, if you're a piece of crap, you're a piece of crap. So for me, I just lost respect for him. This worker had his permanent employment relationship with the employer. Everything was fine with the CNSST, but never wanted to go back to pre-injury job because of this, as you read. The feeling of injustice here lies upon, well, he didn't care about me. So the CNSST knew, and the clinic knew also that his intent of not returning to pre-injury job, and they managed some things so that he can preserve his right of rehabilitation. Here the technical bureaucratic red tapes are very full of very interesting and let's say very problematic elements. Just few of them, like here a therapist says, sometimes you say to yourself, it won't work. It happens that there is no longer any trust in the system. We're also able to acknowledge that it has been an influence on the worker. And given that these work factors have become too great a barrier, we say we won't be able to achieve our mandate. The mandate is the mandate given by the compensation board. And the other one is similar. And here also, a worker says they change agents all the time. When they change, it's like starting all over again. An agent knows you, you know him, he has a whole track record, then suddenly you change agent. They call you up and ask you the same questions over and over again. Everything you've already been through and everything you've already done. So the researcher replied, so you always have to rebuild a bond of trust with them? And the worker says, exactly. And so the time is, all right. So I leave it for the next one, some aspect of pain representation. There's no quotation here because it's too long, but disability can create difficulties at home and on every intimate level, which need to be considered clinically, but which are not addressed and are overlooked in the clinic. They take care of the if you hurt your arm, they will take care of your arm. But if you feel any other problems related to it, they won't. It's like the body machine or a biomedical dominant view of the problem, and so forth. So here are also implicit bias to influence the bond of trust and the therapeutic relationship, because some therapists are condescending about the use of traditional or cultural knowledge. For example, oil treatments, traditional healers or shamans. So it's useful if it doesn't harm, as they would say. Culture is at best a placebo, most often an obstacle to science. Culture is the order, but the clinicians don't consider in the reflection that they also bear cultural backgrounds, but it doesn't seem to take place in their clinical reasoning. But this is quite a complex thing, like the cross-cultural relationship in the clinic, but we can discuss it later if you like. And here also, okay, we can, and the last one, the work organization. Here, the interdisciplinary rehabilitation program have been developed to meet the need of this specific clientele, but there are divergent clinical opinions that affect the alliance and the trust. And the rigidity of the return to work programs and the law in itself, and reduced staffing, technological and IT challenges too are there. And yeah, and the trust in the competence of the physicians, because many workers don't know the competencies or qualifications of, for example, occupational therapists or physical therapists, and they trust their doctor, but not the physical therapist when they say, oh, I think you are able to return to work, but the doctor says no, or the reverse thing is also present. So there's no kind of alliance between the doctors and the clinic, and this is another level of building a therapeutical alliance. So, not to conclude, because we can't conclude on this very important topic, but this is just an introduction, right? So here, what I would like you to keep in mind for the moment is that working alliance is a consistent predictor of positive clinical outcome, but in some circumstances only. And in the complex system like compensation and return to work, it is quite fragile, because it doesn't take into consideration the different levels of interventions and the multiple actors that are involved in it. So we need, like, Relay Alliance is an emerging team, as I said, but it's more like a safeguard, you know, a safeguard of preventing working alliance collapse when addressing delicate issues. And delicate issues in this context is return to work in itself. If work conditions before the injury are problematic, of course, return to work is a taboo because they don't want to talk about it, especially when there are some conflict or conflictual issues with the employer or workplace relationship. So we need that in the clinic, at least they need to deconstruct mistrust. Because before building trust or alliance, we need to understand what goes before, what is there before, with a passive history of mistrust that has to be understood and deconstructed before doing anything else. And the complex system, like working alliance, need stability and familiarity with every actors. That is not the case in the workers we interviewed and other studies too in which we were involved. So we need there's a need for sustainable working alliance from the beginning, not only the clinic, because as we said before, this study is just arise at a specific moment in the whole compensation process. We need further exploration too in the construction of the inter-organizational alliance, and also possible multiple site ethnographies, because this is just a single case study, and well, we need to understand in this a complete view of various organizational settings. So if you want to download the references used in this presentation, because as you see, there's a lot, and you can download the whole references with this QR code. And well, thank you very much. Yes, this has been discussed, and well, thank you, and we'll be waiting for your questions after the conferences. Thank you.